Well, I guess another year of anime has come and gone. I watched maybe 6 new shows that came out this year, and as far as I'm concerned, that's not really enough to make any definite conclusions about what the best things to come out were, but you know what, I'm going to talk about the highlights anyway. Enter this little template. Show us who your top 5 characters of 2019 are. This looks like a pretty good base for what I want to do. I need 3. Here's my tweet response. As you can see, I said that one of them was a real list, and the other was a pack of lies to make everyone feel better. The truth is, they're both lies, and my real list is split up between the two of them. But which is which? Let's find out. This is more or less my definitive top 10 characters that made the biggest impressions on me, if not just a list of favorites, because let's not lie, that's exactly what these things are. But who are the actual top 5? If one thing I can say is true, it's that this is essentially split into 2 categories. Characters I expect people to approve of, and characters I know people are going to question. The spite list because, screw it, I like these guys even if no one else did. Other than that, the numbers don't really mean anything, and the order isn't exact, so the final order will be subject to change. Now, let's see if I can give a rundown as to why. P.S. This video will have spoilers! You have been warned. Skip around if you want to, but some of this stuff is going to be more in-depth than others, so, again, the warning has been issued. Starting with list B, the edgy list. Number 5, Rekha from Fire Force. Not enough people really care to ask what I think about Fire Force, which is why the moment I dropped it could be distilled into a single half-minute AMV without any other explanation. I don't know what it is about this show, but being from the author of Soul Eater, I thought that I would like it more. Something about it, or maybe just a lot of little things about it, didn't really hit right, and it was the small things that were keeping me watching. Rekha's introduction was one of those things. Why? Because he was introduced with one of the most overpowered abilities in all of anime, the ability to prevent accidental thoughterry. Tamaki's little fan service condition is annoying. Not interest-breaking, but when one of your character's selling points is that they are afflicted with the ability to personify one of anime's most annoying tropes, well, again, I can only say it's annoying. Enter Jukebox Hero here, who apparently has a history of helping her avoid these situations as long as they are within a reasonable proximity to each other. I like that. That could be a fun dynamic. I want to see more of that, even if it can't happen as often as I would like it to. Well, it only happens once. Then they reveal that he's a jackhole who sets kids on fire and kills them off in the underwhelming fight with the main character. I have way too many gripes with this, but on the topic of how less than stellar the show was, I decided that with this I was gonna just ditch it. Sorry. Rip Rekha, you could have been the best. Number 4, Foogo from JoJo's Bizarre Adventure Golden Wind. Why? Because like every other one of my favorite JoJo characters, he gets handed the short stick. Yes, I am aware of the lore and the story behind Foogo's leaving when he did, and why he did, and I will argue that it is entirely justified. I like the gang, I really do, but Foogo is the character that I like the best, and he only got one fight. He barely even managed to do anything in that fight. His temper is hilarious, and Purple Haze has the perfect embodiment of his 0 to 1 million personality. I really, really wanted to see more of him, ever since I read the manga years ago. And now, Purple Haze feedback is very unlikely to happen, but you know what? I don't care. If I had to pick a JoJo guy to have on my top 10 list, Cheese Suit takes the cake. Number 3, Garo from One Punch Man Season 2. My first reaction was, wait, that came out this year? Yes it did. For all its lack of hype regarding the animation of this season, I think that Garo's character has shown through really great. He's a bit edgy, sure, but so is everybody on this list. Well, actually not all of them, but anyway, you'd never convince me that he's a static character. The entire second season of One Punch Man gives a lot more to the secondary cast members, and it was fun. But secondary antagonist and general nuisance Garo is the perfect example of every villain is the hero of their own story. No, actually he's just trying to be the villain in everybody else's story, and it's super fascinating to watch. Of all the heroes for him to get beat up by, Watchdog, man. I mean, come on. I like Garo a lot, but I would have liked to have seen that happen myself. Stupid budget cuts. Add in this kid, and there's this kind of conflicting dynamic to this wannabe monster who ironically never planned on joining the monsters in the first place. To top it all off, he's one of the few characters whose self-definition, motivation, and growth is not directly tied to Saitama, who he had 5 seconds of contact with, and got knocked out in that 5 seconds. Whether that's for better or for worse, who can say? Strangely enough, I might have given this spot to Genos instead if the mangaka had just had mercy on him and allowed him to get a leg up, like, literally. Have mercy on the poor cyborg, please. Dang it, I really need to read more of this. Number 2, Tahomaru from Dororo. All of the props to Studio Mappa for the good they did for this guy. Not everything about this revamped version of Tezuka's manga was superior to the original, but the younger brother of the protagonist Hyakimaru is definitely one of the spots this adaptation shines. Like, they actually made him a character, a conflicted, complex, kind of tragic character. He's trying to do what he thinks is right, but between his manipulative father and despondent mother, he feels he has a lot to prove and even more to try and save by making the choice to condemn his older brother. There are a lot of things between Tahomaru and Hyakimaru that I appreciate about this series, including the fact that they are full-blooded brothers instead of just being half-brothers or adopted. There's a lot of meaning to the conflict between them and the strange envy that they have towards each other. Honestly, the two came really close, but this is the spite list, so I decided to add the one of them that people seem to be less empathetic towards. P.S. Here's real spoilers! He's not dead, you can't tell me he is, I didn't see his body, he didn't die, he's not dead. Number 1, Fat Gum from My Hero Academia Season 4. He's amazing. A lot of amazing characters get time to shine this season, but honestly, Fat Gum was who I was looking forward to the most. You know, I get exposed to a lot of things on the internet, and spoiler and character appearances are some of them. I make it a point for this series to actually not read the manga ahead of time because I'm enjoying the anime so much. Fat Gum was a character who I saw repeatedly before this season, and I noticed that a lot of people liked him. You know what? I looked and said, you seem like the kind of character that I will like as much as everybody else. And I most certainly do. There's just something very satisfying about seeing this character who looks like he gives really good hugs and coming to realize that he totally does. From his squishy primary design to his dad-like personality, I know why everyone likes him so much. But as the series continues, he's gonna kinda get left behind in light of Mirio's arc and even Kirishima, who he was right next to. I love all of them, I love Amajiki, but this list is mostly for the relatively underappreciated, so there really was no contest on who was going to end up as number 1. Also, he's like the only objectively morally upright character on this particular list, so woohoo! Good guys for the win! This list even gets an honorable mention, Suzaku Kururugi from the Code Geass, Lelouch of the Resurrection movie. Who would be on this list out of pure spite? But admittedly, I haven't even watched the movie, and I don't plan on watching the movie, so it would be unfair to everybody if I did that. Now, onto the list of characters everyone would expect to be on a top 5 list. AKA, List A, the Fluff List. Zenitsu from Demon Slayer. I actually have watched this one, and while it is pretty flawed, the series is a really great ride. Let's not lie here, Tanjiro is best boy, but Zenitsu sticks out more to me as an interesting character with boundless growth potential. We saw a good bit of it in the Spider arc, and I want to see how far it can go. He's not a completely dependable comrade yet, but he tries and cries some more. We await the very second that his hidden badassery is no longer hidden from himself. It took me a hot minute, though, to come to the conclusion about why it was that Zenitsu's constant crying and clinging didn't rub me the wrong way as it did every other person who watched it. And then I remembered. Oh yeah, I've been here before. Number 4. Hyakimaru from Dororo. I didn't watch a lot of new anime this year, okay? And I can't ignore the older brother either. Much like Tahomaru, I like the anime rendition of this character a lot more than the manga one. Though what the manga has over the anime in terms of personality, that is manga Hyakimaru being a snarky little son of a gun, the anime makes up for it a more realistic character. I still might talk in depth about the comparison and contrast between the two versions of the story, but I like how Hyakimaru's lack of a body is handled much more in the anime. Instead of being supplemented with psychic powers to make him functional in spite of not having most of his body, Hyakimaru is more like Daredevil but with about a dozen more disabilities, and his portrayal as such is amazing. Not only is he, really amazing at fighting demons despite all his disabilities, but he has to grow physically as well as mentally over the course of the series. He's got a lot of adapting to do every time he gets a part of his body, and he has fewer and fewer excuses to do socially unacceptable things as that continues. He has to be taught not to disregard his safety when he can actually lose pieces of himself that won't be replaced. His sensory overload from finally being able to hear and how Mio helps him learn to cope with it, and the fact that he gets so touch-starved that he starts rubbing everything with his face in order to feel it because he doesn't have his arms. And then you have that thing about him being at a disadvantage in enclosed spaces when he's fighting with his brother after getting his arms back because he has to adapt to having a longer reach. I need to stop before I start writing the script to a whole other video here. I love Dororo as a series, and Hyakkimaru is a great protagonist. Or, deuteragonist? I mean, Dororo is also a main character, I guess. Number 3, Kyo Soma from Fruits Basket, 2019. I don't know what you want me to say. I love this loud and confrontational catboy. Ever since watching the first anime, Kyo has always been a favorite, and I just can't say how happy I am for this reboot. Almost any character from Fruits Basket could go on this list because they all kind of need love. Literally everybody has some form of a tragic backstory or reason for their apparently unreasonable character traits, and we've only reached the tip of the iceberg at the end of the first season. If you've watched the show and were moved by the story of what happened when Toru learned about how extra cursed the Zodiac Cat is and don't know the rest of the story, I can only say, wow, it's gonna get more feelsy from here, folks. So much is set up, there's so much foreshadowing, and Kyo is such a big part of it. You think you know what his problems are? Oh boy, you don't even know the half of it. This is a favorites list. It has to be him. I only want happiness for this Neko. There's so much more to come, and I don't remember all of it, so maybe I'll have a better understanding of certain events as they happen, but for now, we just have to wait. Also, thank all things good and decent that Jerry Jewell is reprising his voice in this role, because the series wouldn't be as good without him. I insist. Number 2, Norman from The Promised Neverland. Good boy. Good boy Norman. There are a lot of good boys and good girls in this series. I'm glad that I watched it, and I'm also looking forward to Season 2. But if I had to pick someone to be in my top 10, it has to be him. I'm not always sold on young genius characters, but this boy is something else. All of them are, but dang! Him in particular. How many people have to be sacrificed for the greater good? That's a question that happens in a lot of what people call good anime. Like, the ones that are killing off droves of people and named characters. Like, it's the mark of some amazing writing. But here, when Norman asks the question, Emma is like, no, we're gonna stop and make sure that nobody dies. And Norman is like, okay, I can work with that. And then he does it. Like, under the appearance of sacrificing himself in the process, so not entirely, but he got everyone else out of there. And essentially, it was post-mortem. He stopped Ray from self-sacrifice post-mortem. It was just him and his faith in Emma's ability to follow through on what he left behind. And what more? I don't think that stuff like this is going to stop happening, because I think most of us, even those of us who haven't read the manga and are just speculating based off of what happened in the series, I think we all can conclude that Norman is still alive. Will he be by the end of the series? Probably not. I expect some major 4D chess is going to happen, and it's eventually gonna, kill all the demons, and all that good stuff is gonna happen, and it's gonna end in another real self-sacrifice because, screw it, he is my favorite character, and my favorite characters are never allowed to have nice things. This is Norman, everybody. Just Norman. Number 1, Shigeo Kageyama from Mob Psycho 100. Yes, I did pick the most unrecognizable picture of this character that I could find, why do you ask? This kid has had some kind of character growth since the last season, and I can't explain how great I think that is. Mob is such a good kid, a lot like Norman. He's been put through so much stress, watching him come to terms with certain things, making friends, fighting for the greater good against an organization of terrorist espers. It's absolutely fantastic. This show overall really blows me away, and the second season is just a continuation of what made the first one great. Actually, I have to strike that. I liked the second season much more than the first season. This kid, he's making his own decisions now. He's slowly but surely making it to his goals. He's set in spite of his powers, and every time he goes to 100%, it gives me chills. No, I'm not ignoring characters like Reagan. I'm just letting Mob shine for all he's worth because he's come such a long way since the start of even this season. He has to be on the Best Boys of 2019 list, in the realm of what is generally considered acceptable for these lists. And even if he wasn't, I would still put him on the list, because dang it, I like him, and I really like this show. There you go, the formalities of explaining the top 5s I placed above have been done, and now how do they actually get ordered? I had 2 ways of going about this, and the first version was to get rid of all the characters featured in series that were just continuations of other series. Unfortunately, I just didn't like the results of it. It gets rid of Mob, Fat Gum, Garo, and Foogo, and leaves me with a top 6 to knock someone off of. That someone would have to be Kyo, by extension of the fact that Fruits Basket is a reboot of an already existing anime. Our final result puts Norman at an extreme advantage over everyone else, retains Rekha, Zenitsu, and 2 characters from Dororo. As I just said, I don't really like these results, so I decided to forego the sequels rule and knock characters out by subjective reasoning. Here's what the list would look like with the guys we have left from this version, though, for those of you who are wondering. Okay, let's start knocking him off. Rekha had a lot of potential, but I can't BS enough reasons to actually put him in the top 5. Number 10 of the top 10 definitely, but the guy was still nothing but potential. Zenitsu is relegated to the bottom 5 because, in all honesty, I do like him, but I don't know if I'm supposed to. I get mixed signals because he's a really good boy, but everyone else in the series treats him like a pest, so I'm not sure if that's how I'm supposed to see him, or I'm supposed to be an outlier. You can't make me choose between Hyakkimaru and Tahomaru. I love both of them too much to put one over the other on the list, and quite frankly, me having 2 Dororo characters in the top 10 says enough already. This leaves a heavy competition for the 5th spot between Kyo and Foogo. Oh boy, it's a battle of the gingers. Do I take pity on Foogo for how snubbed he got and Purple Haze feedback never, or does Kyo get this spot for his amazing anime comeback? You know what? JoJo obligations have to be thrown out the window this time. I'm sorry, I changed my mind. I like Kyo more, I have a longer history with Fruits Basket, and Part 5 is, quite frankly, my least favorite JoJo part. Sorry, Foogo, I'm snubbing you too. Into 6th place you go. Now all that's left is to order these guys. Fat Gum comes in at number 5, because I really wanted to give him a spot in the top 5, but I can't place him above Kyo, who comes in at a close number 4, where I am excitedly waiting the 2nd season. Having 2 characters written by one is almost as bad as having 2 characters from the same series on a list, but by technicality, I am not going to get rid of either of them. As much as I think Garo is a fun character, I'd still like to see more of where his character is going to go before I can say he's better than Mob, which I might never say anyway. So the little psychic steps up above him with the power of sheer good boyness, and my current faith that he can't make me sad or let me down enough to fall below the monster in training. This leaves Norman once again at the top with all the best boy points. He's cute, he's caring, he's got no superpowers but is a genius, even post-mortem, as far as his friends are concerned. And a newcomer to the anime scene this year, so Norman was gonna win pretty hands down. Even with the brothers from Dororo, I wouldn't be able to place them above him, so congratulations! And that's all, folks. Sorry the list couldn't be a little bit more interesting, but I didn't have a lot of time to watch all the stuff I would have liked to. Things like No Guns Life and Beastars are on my list of things to watch, but I just couldn't get to them in time. Overall, I had fun watching anime from this year, and for some past seasons as well. I've got some fun stuff I want to see next year too, even ones that came out this year. But for now, that's it. Make sure you guys leave your own lists or your own opinions on mine and my strange choices in the comments if you have anything to say. And with any luck, I'll get to see you in the next year. I'm setting up a Twitch channel for game streaming soon when I get my laptop fixed as well, so look forward to that announcement. Thank you to everyone who watched this all the way through. I hope the video amused you, and I'll get to see you next time. Happy New Year! Ciao!